Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and I'm being joined today by Mr. Evan Wanish of the Cannon Fire podcast. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have brought in a veteran pass rusher finally. Former San Francisco 49er, former Denver Bronco, former Dallas Cowboy. It's Randy Gregory. Evan, this is a 1 year deal, correct?
Yep. It is a 1 year deal for Randy Gregory here. Yep.
All right, and we don't know the exact numbers in terms of the price tag for Randy Gregory, but Evan, I imagine it's not going to be a pretty high price tag.
Yeah, I imagine at this point in the offseason, it's probably not going to be something that's going to break the bank. And look, I mean, the Buccaneers, they've shown, throughout this entire offseason that like they're not gonna be spending, the big money. So I would guess that yes, it's not going to be something that's going to be a large number. But yeah, we don't know the exact number quite yet.
Randy Gregory obviously is going to be far and away the most veteran guy in this Buccaneers pass rush room going forward. And the Bucs do add to a position group, Evan, that a lot of Bucs fans have been clamoring for them to add to throughout this entire offseason, right? And Randy Gregory, I think overall has been fine throughout his career in the NFL. Former second round draft pick in 2015. The most sacks he's ever had in his career was once in 2018 when he had 6, 7, and once in 2021 when he had 6 as well. The most amount of games he's ever started in his career was 11 in 2021 as well. Evan, why is that the case? Has this guy been dealing with some injury issues in the past? Has he just been getting rotated out, more of a rotational guy? Kind of give us a little bit of a background on that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of both. He has had some injury issues, but also, he has been more of a rotational type guy in his time in the NFL, and 3.5 sacks total last year between two teams. He was with the Denver Broncos, got traded to the San Francisco 49ers, so for their like Super Bowl run there. And look, I mean, to me, him being a rotational guy is just what the Buccaneers were going to be looking for anyway, So I know this is going to bring up the questions about the draft and how this could affect it. Look, my stance is it shouldn't, nor do I think it will change the Buccaneers' plans for the first round or the first few rounds of the NFL draft. Randy Gregory, like you said, he's had 6 sacks twice, and the last 2 years he's had a combined 5.5 sacks. So this isn't somebody who is going to come in and light the world on fire, but it is good depth. It replaces a guy like Shaq Barrett, who they needed to replace. And like I said, I still think edge is firmly on the table for them in round one. But it is nice to have a guy like Gregory, and like you said, a veteran, in that fold in the rotation there.
Couple of things to make a note of here. 2016 to 2017 was not a great time for Andy Gregory. Was suspended 3 separate times throughout that year. On
Yeah.
February 19th, 2016, suspended 4 games. September 29th was suspended yet again, an additional 10-game suspension. Then on November 11th, he had faced another year-long suspension. So he did not play throughout the entirety of the 2017 season. Now he did come back and did have 6 sacks in that 2018 year, which we talked about. And since then, he hasn't had any suspensions as far as I can see. Evan, no, actually, I'm incorrect. He was suspended indefinitely in 2019 due to again violating the league's substance abuse policy. So he has had some issues with suspensions throughout the early portion of his career, but it seems like the last suspension had taken place in 2019. Since then, from 2020 onward, it seems like he's been okay. And again, the most recent contract that he had signed was a 5 year, $70 million contract with the Denver Broncos in 2022. Now that's whenever some injuries started to take place. He had a knee injury in week 4, was placed on the injured reserve on October 4th of 2022. So again, suspensions, injuries, these have been the types of things that have plagued Gregory throughout his career. But to your point, Evan, this isn't a guy, you know, who is going to come in and be the number one pass rusher on this defense far and away. He's going to help. He's going to be a veteran presence. But I imagine, based on the stats and based on some of the situations that he's had throughout his career, both in the forms of suspension and in the form of injuries, isn't necessarily going to be a guy that you're going to say, hey, 10 plus sack guy potential, right?
Right. It's not exactly, expecting him to come in and be that is a little unrealistic. But again, like you said, I thought this, throughout the offseason that like, they released Shaq Barrett, but he didn't really replace him with anybody, right? And there was a lot of focus there on the draft. And like I said, I don't think that's going to change, right? I still expect them in the first two or three picks that they have, I expect one of them, at least one of them, to still be an edge rusher because I think they know how important it is to get that done. But again, yeah, a guy like Randy Gregory is just going to provide some depth and some veteran depth that they do need. And on a 1 year deal, you can do a lot worse.
Absolutely. And I want to take a look real quick at the Pro Football Focus numbers before we get out of here. He had a 45.5 grade in 2023. Not great. But you take a look at 2022, a 76.9 grade, 2021, a 78.6 grade, and then in 2020, an 80.5. So, while his overall numbers haven't been the most stellar in terms of statistical production, those pro football focus numbers got to count for something. And throughout his career, he has been a rotational guy, Evan. The least amount of defensive snaps he ever played was 31% during his time with Dallas in his rookie year. After that, the lowest he had was 40%, and that was only once. After that, 45% was the lowest. So this is a guy that's been a pretty strong rotation in the past couple of places that he's been to, like Dallas, like Denver, and even a little bit with San Francisco in there as well once he did move on from Denver to San Francisco during that 2023 season. So I agree with you. I think that this is a guy who is going to come in, is just going to be a veteran guy, and if you have him part of the rotation, like what you said, you could certainly do worse. So moving forward, yes, I agree with you. I don't think this changes the Bucs' plans for the NFL draft and drafting a pass rusher even in round 1 or round 2, maybe even multiple pass rushers. But I do think an important thing to say here with this, Evan, is that it is a veteran pass rusher. How do you think that that's going to add to the room as a whole to have a veteran guy?
Yeah, I think it matters. There are a lot of potential, obviously, with Diaby there, but the star on Joe Tryon Shoyinka is getting a little bit a little less shiny, year after year, and he's entering, year four at this point. So I don't really know what to expect from him. Anthony Nelson's more of a rotational guy. So again, it was something. All those guys are still in their 20s, and I think you need to add some sort of veteran there with some sort of experience. And look, like I said, it's a 1 year deal, probably pretty cheap. And like I hate to say it again, but the Bucs can do a lot worse. So I think adding that veteran presence there, replacing Shaq Barrett with a guy who hasn't like been outstanding in his career, but you know what? He's had some productive years. I think that matters, and I think that's what the Buccaneers in this situation were looking for.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to compare their 2023 seasons with Randy Gregory, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, Anthony Nelson, Yaya Diaby, and Shaq Barrett. And you take a look, not necessarily in terms of the main stats for the Bucs. Randy Gregory would have been fourth out of those five guys behind JTS, Yaya Diaby, and Shaq Barrett. Would have been ahead of Anthony Nelson. But I do want to take a quick look at some advanced defensive stats as well because I
Well,
feel like
the one thing I do want to say, do want to note, Joe Tryon was essentially a starter for the Buccaneers, while Randy Gregory really wasn't a complete starter. For especially once he went to San Francisco, wasn't a complete starter either. So some of them numbers might be a little skewed towards a guy like Joe Tryon because he played a lot more.
right, right, I do agree with that. But it is still important to say like, hey, this would have been a guy who still would have been a pretty solid piece in the rotation, which I feel like is very important. It's not a guy where you're getting him and it's just, oh well, this guy wouldn't have been anything for the Bucs, right, so to speak. It's not really the case. He would have just been an Anthony Nelson type of guy, just a solid veteran in the rotation. And I think right now, for what the Bucs are or have been looking for, again, it's not bad. It's not bad overall. So, Evan, before we go ahead and finish off this video, do you have any final words for this signing?
Yeah, I mean, it's about time, right? And I'm sort of,
Yeah.
I've sort of been a proponent of, wanting to add in that group there, and we'll see what type of production he can add. Like I said, it's probably a low risk deal. It's a 1 year deal, so there's not going to be much. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I think it was smart of the Buccaneers to at least take a swing here and try and add somebody to that group.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? Why not? There's certainly um, worse situations that you could have, and I've said it before, and I know you agree with this. You never know who can make an impact, right? You never know who can go out there and make some type of impact. So we'll just have to wait and see, folks. We'll just have to wait and see. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. Let us know your thoughts and opinions about this signing down in the comments section below. I would love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go check out Evan over at the Cannon Fire podcast as well, and his work over at Bucs Nation. But guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, we'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.